Hey guys, Pedro here to tell you about the latest from Red Moon Architect, October Decay, out April 18th on Noble Demon. The album has 6 tracks, 49 minutes in length, and this is the band's 6th full-length studio album. They are a Finnish funeral doom metal band. When it comes to the design of this record, this album offers, at the surface, a very linear perspective. It doesn't feel like it's even moving. It gives you more of a sense of sinking in than moving. But when you listen to the album and you start to dive deeper into the individual songs, you start to see tracks having a sense of beginning, middle, and end, with extended intros, close finishes, allowing the listener to have almost little breaks, little reprieves in between each song, and then being eased into the track that follows. While this might be minimal to the untrained eye, I would say, for someone who listens to this genre or who follows this band, this approach makes this overall record a lot easier to process, a lot easier to digest, and that gives quality to the overall album experience. Now, once you get into the sound, this to me is one of their most palpable sounding records. What I mean by that is that these guys are not the easiest band to listen to, or at least to navigate through a record and to manage the sound that's on it. This record changes that ever so slightly. All the nuances and all the characteristics of Red Moon Architect are still there. This is still a dark, harsh, heavy record that really drags you down with it, that moves in a very methodical way. But the sound on this album also has a lot more areas where it feels more open, where it breathes a little bit more, and that makes the experience a little bit more dynamic and gives more movement to the record, even if it doesn't feel like it when you're listening to the tracks. And that is because of 3 different elements within the sound: guitar, drums, and synths. Now, synths on this record play an important role, a very important role, I would say, in order to create a cohesive atmosphere from first all the way to the last song. It also helps fill in the sound, giving it more texture, making it richer, making the overall experience having a lot more depth, a lot more substance. I really enjoy that part of the sound because it added melancholy to the sound. It added a very consistent atmosphere, like I said, but it doesn't change how heavy and how dark the tracks really are. It just allows them to move in a different way and allows them to feel a little bit easier on the ears. Now, once you get into the drums, I felt like they were the heartbeat of this album. The album moves very methodically, and the drums move with it, almost like I said, like a heartbeat, marking each and every single step that you're taking as you're navigating through these songs. Great sound quality out of the drums, super effective in what they have to do, and really complementing the overall experience. When you get to the guitars, I think that's where you're going to find the most movement, the most versatility within the sound of the album. The guitar sound is really good on this record because it allows you to feel heaviness, it allows you to feel melancholy, it allows you to feel sadness, it allows you to feel darkness. The guitars have so many different textures to them, and even within songs they change the movement of where the track is going, really helping complement the journey that each and every single song puts forward. So I thought the guitar sound overall on this record is perhaps one of the best, but the sound in general on this album to me is definitely up there as one of their best sounding records, definitely one of the most approachable albums from that standpoint. Now, once you get into the vocals, I have to mention the clean female vocals are the icing on the cake. You know what you're going to get from the harsh vocals. The harsh vocals add to that sense of heaviness, that sense of darkness that the band has and that this album offers. But those female clean vocals create such a contrast, and I think they're another element of creating more room for the tracks to breathe, bringing in more melancholy, sometimes feeling absolutely haunting. So you're creating a lot of the same dynamics, and you're definitely creating a lot of the same experiences, but the way the vocals match, the 2 different styles match with one another throughout the entire album, definitely makes this record stand out from a vocal standpoint. Super strong. If not the strongest element of this record is the overall vocal performance, but the dynamic between the 2 vocalists really brings this album to life and injects some important energy into this record, so you don't always feel drained by it, so you don't feel like you're always sinking, like you're always drowning. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. There's some hope for you to be able to reach that shore, and instead of just drowning in the middle of the ocean. And I felt like the use of the clean vocals throughout the record always gave me that life jacket. It threw that life jacket at me when perhaps the songs were starting to become a little bit cumbersome, or at least changing the dynamics from song to song to make the overall record experience feel a lot more fluid, a lot more dynamic, and remove some of that sting that linearity of the album holds. Overall, I feel like this is one of their best records. I honestly feel like this is one of their easiest to listen to records because of all of these different dynamics. They didn't change who they are, they didn't change their DNA. They just kind of moved some pieces around and allowed the album to feel like a continuation of their previous work, but at the same time offering a much easier roadmap for the listener to get into. This is definitely an album that could become a gateway for fans to discover this band and then dive deeper to some of their more demanding parts of their discography. As far as favorite songs are concerned, I had to start off with Frozen Tomb. This is the opening track. I always say on records like this that the opening track is fundamental in order to set the tone for what the rest of the album is going to be all about. And this track does just that. It offers you the two different vocal styles, the dynamic between them, and the impact that they have on the sound. Musically, it's also a track that feels a lot more dynamic, that has a lot more movement, displaying all of the different attributes that you're going to see throughout the entire record. It's a track that has a sense of journey. The sound takes you there, and then the vocals just guide it and redefine it. Very complete track, very methodic track, but still a track that has movement within that more methodic style approach. Then you have a track like The Depths. It builds through an extended intro, and then you start to get this more melodic sound, and the melodic sound has a great contrast with the heavier vocals, but then the clean vocals come in, creating some nice pockets where the track becomes more melancholic, more easier to listen to, more easier to digest. It's a track that moves so slow that at times it feels like you're going backwards. It's less dynamic. It's perhaps the best way to describe this song is a less dynamic, a shorter version, and a more open and melodic approach to what Frozen Tomb was all about. So they took a lot of the same similarities in terms of song construction that Frozen Tomb had, but they just made this track a lot shorter, a lot more dynamic, a lot more melodic, and a lot more open. Same elements, just presented in a very different way. And then we have In Silence. The guitar sound on this track is drained of life. It almost feels like it has no energy in it, and it's so good. I love the guitar sound on this song. It has this melancholy built into it, and it also has a sense of darkness that it's becoming more clear once the harsh vocals come in and they start to define what that darkness is all about. But you still have those melodic synths in the background, and then the song closing off with everything dropping out and just those melodic, melancholic synth sounds staying on. That is phenomenal. It just really strips down the track to its core and allows you to close off on such a somber atmosphere for a track that had that guitar sound that felt lifeless, that was so hooky, so good. To finish off on that more somber mood, it just allows the track to have life and to have dynamic when the sound feels depleted from it. This is it, Red Moon Architect, October Decay. Once again, out April 18th on Noble Demon. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on the singles. Hit me up in the comment section. I'll see you all at the next video. Take care, guys.